Most guilds out there clear Blackwing Lair anywhere between 60 to 90 minutes, of which they spend an average of 15 minutes on the bosses themselves. To put it simply, an average guild spends about 80% of their raid time just clearing trash. Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a good enough understanding of the trash mobs, so that your time spent in the raid will be reduced considerably, making the raid not only faster, but more relaxed and enjoyable for everyone. What's up nerds, and welcome to my AQ40 Trash Mobs video guide. In this video, I'll do my best to show you how to handle the various mobs in AQ40 as efficiently as possible. So without further ado, let's begin. As you enter AQ40, you'll meet 4 Anubisath sentinels and 1 obsidian eradicator that's gonna be patrolling. You will wanna kill the obsidian eradicator first, so wait for him to patrol close enough to your raid and pull him over. Obsidian eradicator is basically a mini Moem. In other words, it's going to drain mana from your raid and add it to its own mana pool. Once it reaches 100% mana, it will cast Shock Blast, which will basically one-shot anyone within 30 yards, except for your tanks. So to beat it, simply make sure to drain its mana as you DPS it down. Next up are the 4 Anubisath sentinels. Those are somewhat similar to the ads in the Major Domo fight, in the sense that once you kill one of them, the rest will get empowered. Each sentinel has one special ability, which is randomly chosen. When you kill a sentinel, its special ability will be transferred to the remaining sentinels, as well as heal them for 50% of their total HP. It is therefore important to kill the sentinels from easiest to hardest ability, so to not overwhelm the raid. Those abilities, in order from easiest to hardest, are Mending, a healing over time buff. Magic Reflection will reflect 2 schools of magic, either Shadow and Frost or Arcane and Fire. Knock Away, which knocks players away but also makes the mobs immune to taunt. Thorns, similar to the Druid's buff, melee should watch their health when attacking this one. Thunderclap, a moderate AoE damage on everyone within 20 yards. This needs to be tanked away from the raid. Mortar Strike, a hard-hitting ability that also applies a healing debuff on the target. Mana Burn, exactly as it sounds, has a 30-yard radius. Tank this one away from the raid, and make sure casters and healers outrange it at all times. And the last ability, which is the most dangerous one, is Shadow Storm, a Shadow Bolt volley that will hit everyone that's not within melee range of the mob. This mob needs to be either tanked in the middle of the raid or out of line of sight. Before Scaram, you'll have a couple more Eradicators and 1 more Anubisath pack. At this point, you know what to do. After Scaram, as you descend down the temple, you'll meet Ahn'Qiraj Brainwasher with 2 Vecnish Guardians. The Qiraji Brainwasher needs to be killed first, as it mind controls and mana drains players. The Vecnish Guardians will require the raid to position in a spot where the ceiling is low. That is because they will charge a random player and knock them high into the air, high enough that the landing damage can be fatal. Next, you'll meet patrolling Vecnish Warriors. Those are pretty easy. However, upon death, they will spawn 10 Vecnish Borers. So make sure to kill them either one by one, or alternatively, you can kill all the warriors together, spawn all the borers, and AoE everything down. Choose the strategy that fits your guild's capabilities the best. As your raid moves closer to the Bug Trio Cave, you'll meet more Qiraji Brainwasher packs with more and more mobs with them. Simply kill the Brainwashers first and the Guardians last. Note that the ceiling here is quite high, making the fall damage potentially fatal. Make sure your raid stacks under the small nook here to prevent from being knocked too high into the air. After the Bug Trio, you'll make your way to Sartura. There you'll meet packs of Vecnish Guardians and roaming patrols of Vecnish Warriors. Have your raid with their back to the wall while you engage the Guardians and deal with the Warriors as you did before. If you struggle with the Guardians, you can pull them back to the place where the ceiling was low. After Sartura, you'll go through the Gauntlet's tunnel, which is similar to the suppression room in Blackwing Lair. In this tunnel, you'll meet Vecnish drones and the occasional Vecnish soldier. Those mobs in this tunnel will respawn every 20 seconds until you defeat Fenkris. To cross this tunnel successfully, simply run through it and stop to AoE the drones about every second soldier. This number will change depending on your raid's capability. Melees should always focus the soldiers, even on the move. Mages and warlocks should wait with their AoE until it's called. After defeating Fenris, you'll come across a patrolling Vecnish hive crawlers. Those mobs are fairly straightforward. Cleave them down while keeping the tanks healthy and the raid cleansed from the poison dot they give. Next set of mobs are the Pre-Huhuran packs. Those consist of Vecnish wasps, stingers, and sometimes a Ahn'Qiraj lasher. The stingers are your highest priority and should be killed first. They will charge a random player and deal low amount of damage. However, if their target has a debuff called Vecnish Catalyst, which is dispellable, they will receive bonus damage that will be fatal to the player. The Ahn'Qiraj lashers are similar to Sartura's Royal Guard mobs. They will cast Whirlwind and will knock random players. Those should be tanked away from the raid and be killed by your ranged DPS after the stinger, while melees should focus down the wasps. After you defeat Huhuran, you'll head into a narrow hallway with 5 large Anubisath defenders patrolling it. While they have similar model to the Anubisath sentinels, they are significantly harder. The defenders will have 2 random abilities each from a pool of 8 abilities. However, not all abilities can be paired with one another. Those abilities are Shadow Storm or Thunderclap. Those are similar to the one used by the Sentinels. Reflect Fire and Arcane or Reflect Shadow and Frost. Again, similar to the ones used by the Sentinels. And then we have 4 new abilities, which are Meteor or Plague. Meteor will hit a random player and everyone within 8 yards radius of him. The damage is split between everyone who got hit. Plague. A random player will get the Plague debuff, which will cause him to deal damage to everyone within 5 yards of him for 40 seconds. And the last pair of abilities is Enrage or Explode. Those will trigger at 10%. Enrage will cause the defender to deal extra damage, and Explode will cause the defender to explode after 5 seconds, killing anyone caught in the blast. Throughout the fight, the defenders will also spawn Anubisath warriors and swarm guards. Those are annoying, but ultimately not dangerous. Simply have them off-tanked at the side. The best way to approach the Anubisath defenders is to start the fight by having everyone stack on melee. Explode and Plague are then the only abilities you should watch for. If you get Plague, simply run out of the raid, and if you get Explode, depending on your raid's capabilities, you either move away or kill the defender before it finishes its cast. Thunderclap is annoying, but ultimately not lethal. It is recommended to pull the defenders way back to ensure you won't be pulling a second one by mistake. After you kill the defenders, you will face the twin emperors. And now comes the hard part. The trash mobs after twins are considered to be the hardest mobs in the raid and should therefore be taken seriously, as they can quickly wipe the raid. And a raid wipe at this point will take some time to recover from. It is advisable to pull the first 2-3 packs back to the twins emperor's room using a hunter, as that will ensure your raid has enough room to deal with their abilities without risking pulling another pack. Each pack will have 1 Ahn'Qiraj champion and a random number of Ahn'Qiraj slayers and Ahn'Qiraj mind slayers. The mind slayers are similar to the Brainwashers you've met earlier in the raid, except they also cast Mind Blast. Kill the Mind Slayers first while CCing the players who get mind controlled. Next should be the Slayers. Those needs to be tanked away from your ranged and healers and be tranked when going Frenzy. If you don't trank the Frenzy, they will spam AoE silence. And the last mob to kill is the Champion. This mob will use knockback and fear, so tank it away from the raid and with your back to the wall. Make sure to use Fear Ward or Tremor on the tank that's tanking the Champion. When the Champion reaches low hit points, it will cast Vengeance, increasing its damage and attack speed by a lot. Luckily, it's dispellable. Having a backup tank for those packs is not a bad idea. The last pack of trash mobs are the Warders. These are giant Anubisath mobs that are accompanied by 2 obsidian nullifiers. The Warder, similar to the other Anubisath mobs, will have 2 random abilities: Root or Fear, and Dust Cloud or Silence. Root, Fear, and Silence are pretty self-explanatory. Dust Cloud, however, will simply reduce your melee's chance to hit by 85%. basically nullifying them. It will also cast Fire Nova occasionally. The nullifiers will act similar to the other obsidians you've met in Ahn'Qiraj. They will drain the mana from your raid and add it to their own. When reaching 100%, they will reduce the hit points of everyone in the raid to 1 and will stun them for 8 seconds. This, paired with the Fire Nova from the Warder, is a lethal combo. To defeat these packs, simply tank the Warder away from the raid, while focusing down one nullifier at a time. Split your mana drainers, priests, warlocks, and hunters, into 2 groups and have each group focus on one of the nullifiers. And that's it. As long as you split the mobs when needed and focus the correct target in each pack, you should be able to handle the AQ40 Trash without too much trouble.